Hey guys, welcome to the world of Clink. So I'm going to be looking at Warships today. What is Warships? Warships is a Starcraft 2 multiplayer map. It is one of the custom maps made for it. I hesitate to call it a full conversion. I mean, it kind of is. It can be played in multiple game modes. I'm going to be sort of just showing you the basics here to sort of give you an idea of what the game's like. I really rate this. Me and my friends have been playing it now almost non-stop for a year, to the point where we've actually created a guild, a clan just to play for Warships. So you can always get a game of this pretty easily, whether it be on North American, European or the Asian servers. There's enough players out there, you can generally get a game in about 10-15 minutes. So it's fun. It's fun. I'd probably compare it similar to some of the other versus games where you play a single unit,
Welcome,
which you've
Commander.
got to control. It's not exactly like something like World of Warships or something like that, because there's a lot more upgrade opportunities, but we'll get into that. So, first up, the game is loaded, and you'll need to select your ship. If you're a beginning player, I would not recommend just randomly picking a ship that sounds cool. I would pick either the assault battleship, the broadside cruiser, or the missile battleship in ranged. That's because those are probably the easiest ships to play, just from a beginner perspective, without getting too complicated. Some of the ships require quite a bit of understanding.
Command
of the
and
basic
control
mechanics in
link
order to get through it.
established. Move out, Commander.
So, you'll have a ship. Look, as you can see, it's got little squares on it, which you can build stuff on. So that's essentially what we're going to do. First up, we're going to build some stuff on this ship. Now, with the broadside, I'm just going to build some basic stuff. I'm just going to put a shield generator, which is kind of important, but we'll go into that later, and a turret up the front here. Once we're ready, I've got some minerals up there. I will also get a booster, which is in the Build Z menu. It's equipment, which will give me a little bit more speed. Lastly, I'll warp out to here. So you've got sort of a few little commands which you can go through your own time. So the main thing, warp is really important. It allows you to warp to your space stations, and which will allow you to move a little quicker around the map, and also defend your space stations if they come under attack. Now, the broadside cruiser has a little special ability which I'm not going to go in. I'm not going to go into much detail in this video, but I'll just explain what I'm doing. So it's called strafe drive. So basically, as you're moving your ship, you hit strafe drive, and then your ship will now only move. It'll essentially lock in position on its vertical axis and only move left and right, essentially, to the sides of the ship, hence the broadside in its name. Lastly, we're going to have a quick look at our abilities. So I'm just going to be choosing this magnetic accelerator, which is basically just a bang-bang shooty ability, which shoots out beams from each side of your ship. Again, I'm not going to go into that too much in this video because it is really just sort of a basics what Warships is game. So you'll see here that you've got little miners, CVs or probes, depending on if you're Protoss or Terran. Not that you can pick that in game, you don't need to pick that in your starting menu. And they will be mining minerals. One of the key points about this game is resource collection. So you want to be taking out your opponent's SCVs and protecting your own. That might mean manually moving your SCV to different areas of the map to avoid ships, or it might mean coming in at a different angle with your ship in order to kill probes. Occasionally you'll see these purple things
Sensors
around the map.
indicate a new rich mineral field.
And rich
We
mineral
better
field.
get there quick.
So I'm going to send my SCV up there to mine. Now note my strafe drive is turned off because I've stopped moving. And we'll get into sort of the nuts and bolts. So hitting on this little marine will actually bring up all the ships. So you can see here we're playing a 3v3 game. These are my three teammates here. The other enemy team is over there. Our aim is to destroy their 3-star bases, also called pylons, also called, some people call shipyards for whatever reason. And basically that's the core of the game. You can't really take them on until your ship is more upgraded. So we're just talking about the moment. Occasionally we'll go, okay. This is sort of why I was partially doing this video, just to give people an idea a bit more. Some people sort of enjoy just jumping on and finding out what this game's about. And they often get discouraged, I find, because they find that the game's either not quite their taste or not what they were expecting.
Research.
So that's a little bit why I'm doing this. Also, just because I traditionally have found that there are a number of guides and communities about this game online, and I'm calling the game even though it's Starcraft 2 because it essentially is a new game. I disagree with a number of common suggestions. I find they're often more for experienced players. There's not, I would say, a great amount of beginner's guides. They often try and throw you in the deep end of it, which I don't think is particularly helpful, particularly with new players, particularly who you're a Starcraft player who just enjoys playing arcade maps and isn't really used to this, or as a Starcraft veteran that wants to learn a new map. Now, I've come back to base and I'm going to spend a little bit of time upgrading. You'll always respawn after you die, but your respawn time is dependent generally on your level and the time of game played. So I'm going to throw another shield generator down. There's a couple of reasons for that, but I'll again go into that in a sec. I'll throw in some more big turrets. So you can see here there's a number of different things you can buy. You can buy small turrets, vents which upgrade to essentially equipment, shield domes which also can be upgraded into other types of equipment, and large turrets which are essentially your big guns which can be upgraded to bigger guns. Lastly, there's a hangar. I'm not going to go too much into the hangar. If you're playing this for the first time, don't build the hangar. It requires a little bit more understanding again of the game elements. If you want to try it, like don't be discouraged. I don't consider myself the perfect master of this game or anything. If you do want to give it a go, give it a go. I'm just recommending that it not be a good idea for new players to try. Next up, I'm going to be upgrading this to a fusion core, which gives energy rather than shields. And lastly, a turbine. For Terrans, turbine's quite good because it essentially gives you a 20% cooldown reduction in your skills. Lastly, I'm just going to be upgrading this to a heavy shield dome, giving me a bit more energy. These little things in here that I've built are sensor towers. Again, I'll be probably doing a few more videos on this to go through the exact elements, but they just essentially give you a sensor scan. I'm going to then jump out. And lastly, my broadside cruiser has a special little upgrade here called mass drivers, which I'm going to upgrade twice, and that will actually improve. You can see how I've got a damage of my ships, which are my mass drivers. So these little pointy things on the side are those mass drivers. So those will open fire, and essentially I can just upgrade them. They're always on the ship. They can't be destroyed. So, a little bit into what's actually going on here. So you can see that all these ships have various upgrades and the turrets are automatically opening fire. So that's a good thing. You essentially can just move in and your turrets will auto-fire. To get good, essentially, you can target specific hardpoints. So here I'm targeting their engines, and I'm going to fire off some missiles at their engines, if I can. Nearly. And yes, their engine will be taken out. So that will slow down their ship. Their booster movements will stop as well, so they can't do boost and move faster. So it basically makes them off on a sitting duck for other ships. And engines are generally speaking the target opportunity you want to be killing. I should mention your SCVs, if not patrolled, will just run off and do their own thing. Just going to do that. Your ship will heal its hard points if it loses them very slowly. It heals them a lot faster if you've got mobility, like I do. If you build a repair in your repair facilities, there's a new king there, so just got to watch out for that. Or if you're near one of your star bases, pylons, whatever you want to call them, or shipyards. Note, you do not need to go all the way back to your shipyards to heal. You can just go upgrade. You can always just go back to here. As you'll notice, there has been a lot of communication going on. Again, this game is the type of team-based gameplay that you do want to communicate. If you're ever unsure, just ask. Most people are generally happy to give you a few basic ideas. If you are going to communicate, they'll also listen to your team. If you disagree with something, just say, hey, I'm not going to do that because of X, Y, Z. Just keep your team happy. Just sort of
get there quick.
Be excellent to one another, as we'd like to say.
Yes, sir.
One thing also important here is stick together. That's kind of one of the golden rules of Warships.
Sure.
Should probably put that. I might put that at the bottom of the video. Take a look to see if I put some golden rules of Warships.
Can't wait. Out.
So with the broadside, just as a starting ship, essentially all I'm doing here is just using the strafe drive to move around, so I can keep all of my guns, mainly those mass drivers, as well as my magnetic accelerator, basically on target. So one of the main reasons of having sensor towers is a lot of weapons have a longer range than your actual vision, so you want to be using that to your advantage. Similar really to siege tanks, actual siege tanks in Starcraft. A brief mention, Protoss ships I consider more difficult than Terran ships. Again, your mileage may vary. But I would not recommend them for a beginner player. They have a completely different set of upgrades. But again, like I'm not saying, give them a try. You might find you're really good at them, or you really enjoy them, or you really sort of just enjoy them. So you can see here, this guy's using starports, which is perfectly fine for his ship type. But again, I would say he does know how to play at some level. Again, that's not saying you won't be able to use starports if you don't know how to play. It's just it requires a little bit more investment. It requires a little bit more micro control. So I wouldn't normally recommend it for a beginning player, just until you get it used to how the ships move and everything. So I'm just going to be building some small turrets. I'm just going to be building a really standard build with this ship. I'm not going to be showing off anything funky. Point defense there to help destroy missiles from missile cruiser. Here I'm going to be building missile launchers. Missile launchers are a good little standard Terran upgrade. They've got decent they've got decent range. No, you can also upgrade them further with a reactor. They've got decent range and they deal extra damage to armoured segments. Note that all of the big hard points are armoured. So it essentially means all of the big hard points is going to be dealing full damage to them. So all of the weapons do have sort of a benefit at some level. Some have smaller range but more damage, others have longer range and no damage. Others deal additional damage versus specific targets. So you want to at some level be countering what you're seeing on the enemy side. I'm seeing a decent amount of large hard points on the enemy side. Not masses of small hard points, so I know the missile launchers are going to be decent. This ship works well at medium to long range. It doesn't work that well at short range, so the missile launchers are, I would say, probably the better upgrade for the ship in most cases. Again, I'll look a bit more at the Terran upgrades in a different video, I think. So there we go. You can come down here and look at these minerals. So at the top there you can see sort of Team 1 and Team 2 minerals. So our team is Team 1, their team is Team 2. So you can see there that our mineral count is roughly the same, so both sides are doing pretty well on the minerals. Mins, or bins, however you want to call them. And you'll be wanting to keep that, and you'll be wanting to maintain mineral control. It's very important in this game. It doesn't mean that you're going to lose if you've lost mineral control, because again, each ship has a different set of upgrades. So, and certainly bigger ships, which can have more upgrades, will need more minerals. Smaller ships would require less minerals. So that's something just to note. It doesn't mean you're going to lose just because you're losing mineral patches, but it is a good indicator of how the game is going. And you can see up here, like, I would say they're winning in kills here, but the minerals wise isn't really showing much. So the other thing to note is to also just have a look at what enemy ships are. So we've got this little Protoss ship, the Eternity, Destiny, Destiny, Harmony, always forget what they're called. This is a mid-range to short. The Destiny is a mid-range to short-range ship. It is a solid little ship, but all Protoss ships, their biggest weakness is basically once they lose their shields, they will explode. No questions asked. They are essentially the paper-thin armor, or somehow be built from balsa wood, so they just cannot take punishment. but their shields are generally pretty heavy. So you can see here my shield, I've got a shield generator and I've only got 2,500 shields, which I don't have the shield generator at the moment, so I've lost that. He's got 14,000 without really even trying. He's got 2 shield batteries there, but all of his other equipment also.
Sensors indicate a new rich mineral field.
So he's a sort of mid-range
quick
brawler. My ship is sort of a mid-range, long-range sort of harasser / striker / flanker. Ships also have different speed, which you can see down here if you click here on your plating, or just move your cursor over, you'll see move speed 2.5. So I'm a relatively fast ship, is the broadside. So I've got good mobility. Its ability to sort of do broadsides and everything can mean you can either go straight into combat, like straight up the guts, and you'll be firing on both sides, which is great, or alternatively you can just come in from one side because you're quite quick and flank the enemy. This ship, again, mid-range brawler, so he's kind of our tank. At some level of infidel here with his missile cruiser, he's also a tank. That's essentially, a missile cruiser is close to a battleship than I would say a cruiser, but he is traditionally long range. And you can see here, Zelda is using his really long range. He's armed himself largely with torpedo batteries. There's a lot of missile spam going off there. I'll probably get a couple more point defense because we are probably going to need it.
Commander, warship engines are offline.
That's
bad. That's bad.
Allied warship destroyed.
Okay, so you can sell stuff. These
under
essentially
attack.
act like units like in regular Starcraft, so you won't get the full money back for selling them, but you will get some money back. So I'm just going to get some more point defense.
Upgrade complete.
How much point defense do you want? Point defense is a Terran upgrade only. Protoss get it through their turrets. They automatically are point defense. You want probably about... I think the most guides suggest 30% point defense to the missile count that you're getting. I agree with that generally. I would say 30 to 40% missile count. If they're really spamming you with missiles, you might just want to go all point defense just to completely neuter their ability to kill you. Now, one little thing I've updated here, so this is a Terran only thing. Once you update to a shield router, you can then essentially put a mega shield on 3 bits of your ship. Doesn't mean that it can't get broken through, but it means that you can protect important elements of your ship so they don't die. In this instance, I'm going to protect those. Now, I'm at this point really need to upgrade my turrets so I can actually become a bit more useful to the group. Because this is a 3v3, I'm just going to upgrade with artillery. Artillery is a stock standard Terran upgrade. Again, if you're unsure what to build, missile launchers as your small weapons, and artillery as your big weapons. They are easy to use, and again, I'll explain more in a different video. And I will upgrade them to have double speed. So I'll keep myself a ship killer.
Upgrade complete.
No, I haven't killed any ships.
Research complete.
So, a couple of things with why those missile launchers and artillery. So, as you'll see, as you've probably seen, bullets fly back and forth. Artillery is an insta-hit, so it's not a projectile. It's just basically, it's like the actual siege tank. It just insta-hits whatever it's firing at, which is really important. It just means it's always going to deal with damage. It deals splash damage. It deals a decent amount of damage, and it's got a decent range. Its range is 25. So it has Terran artillery, missile launchers, generally very strong weapons, and you'll essentially be able to just continually deal damage, which is really important. Particularly as you're just learning, particularly if you're learning the game, it means you're still quite a use to your team, even if you're not 100% perfect with your ship. So you'll note there the missile cruiser explodes on death, which it does once it hits level 6. A little later. So essentially this is how it is. I mean, you could probably compare it a little bit to, say, a hero assault, but rather than items, you just build in extra guns on your ship. I'm not sure if this is... I think originally this was a Warcraft 3 map. Correct me if I'm wrong, and it was in the original Starcraft. But I believe this was based off the Warcraft 3 map, which was basically an Age of Sail type game where you'd have battleships and frigates and so on, using the models from Warcraft.
Research complete.
That's what I remember anyway. So once the enemy team is dead, you're essentially in a really good position then to attack one of the star bases, which is what I'm going to do. So you'll see here, it will slowly upgrade over the course of the game as well. He's coming back now. So this is going to become one way I can't take him on my own, as well as the pylon. The pylon does deal damage to you, so you just got to be aware of that.
Affirmative. Roger that. Of course.
Research complete.
Sensors indicate a new rich mineral field. We better get there quick.
Will do. You gonna give me orders?
So those guys have walked back to upgrade, which was heal, which is fine. I'm going to just remain out here because this ship is quite good at being. It's again, it's a harasser. It is actually quite good at going out, killing pylons, and acting alone because it's got a central healing ability. What was I doing about? Oh yeah, that's right. I was talking about ship counters. So essentially, we've got a mid-range ship, a mid to long-range ship, and a long-range ship. We are not a short-range. Oh, sorry, mid to short-range. He's our short-range ship. So at Protoss, he's going to have crappier point defense. So if you're playing Terran and you see lots of missiles flying about, you're probably going to be wanting some point defense to assist your allies. What have they got? They've got a shipyard, which is a repair vessel, a Gorse cruiser, which is a basically long-range brass cannon type ship. It deals lots of damage. And you've got your missile cruiser, which is basically the same as ours. Both built differently. Again, that's one of the strengths about this game, I think. I don't think there's ever a wrong way of building something. There's generic sort of good ways of building things, like as I mentioned, artillery and missiles, but there are also other ways of building to counter your opponent far more effectively. I'm going to probably mention to...
Enemy warship destroyed.
Wow. And yeah, some people quit after half an hour. Who was he? He was the missile cruiser. It's weird. I'm doing pretty well. I don't know why he left.
Upgrade complete. Upgrade complete. Upgrade complete.
So, at this point in the game, I have upgraded all of my weapons. So, I can now pop some money
Docking
around.
clamps released. Warship operation.
Sensors indicate a new rich mineral field. We better get there quick.
Always be nice to you
Complete.
people, particularly when you've got a game which isn't official and only generally has a small community. So anyway, now I've fully upgraded, I'm going to be sending money to people. Now, I know for a fact that this ship is, well, you can sort of see, it's a smaller ship than this ship, so this ship is probably going to need more money. So I will throw him some money. Never just keep your money, there's never a reason for it. It's always better to upgrade your other ships, even if later down the track you need to sell some of your stuff and rebuild to counter someone.
Why not?
They're probably going, how do I counter someone? Well, you'll learn. Over the course of the game you will learn. As like me building some extra point defense there, largely speaking that was because and that was largely just because of the amount of missile spam. So that's sort of what you want to look for.
I feel you. That's fine.
So you do want to do a little bit of, for the StarCraft veterans, ATM. You probably want to get used to ATM a little bit because ATM allows you to essentially jink your ship. Some weapons, as I mentioned, are projectiles. They are not homing, so you will actually avoid shots by doing this. It also keeps your ship, well, particularly for broadside, which needs to keep moving to continue strafing, but it also means that your ship is essentially continually moving in other directions, which means you don't need to, though there's not really much acceleration, there is, you can see there's a little tiny bit of lag there, where it switches between one side and the other. So if you're going in that direction already, it means it's a lot easier to suddenly go, I'm going to boost, and you don't have to suddenly click that way to boost the opposite direction. So it gives you, again, mobility so that you're moving around. And again, mobility is really important. That's why you target the engines first. Because a non-moving ship is a dead ship. So these are also all armoured, so missiles are good against these things as well. They're essentially small ships built from the shipyard.
Research.
Again, we will look at that in a separate video.
Starbase destroyed. Congratulations, Commander.
Now at this point it is currently 3v2. Now again, is it game over when someone leaves? No, because their money will actually get split to his remaining teammates. So if someone quits mid-game, you're actually probably still in a good position if you're in a better position, but you need to capitalize on that really quickly. So use your money, use all the extra funds you just dropped to completely upgrade your ship, and then push on the enemy team together. You still actually have a really good chance of winning, or at least coming very close. I have seen a number of games which have been won by lower players. If you do that, you don't panic. These guys, I wouldn't actually consider these guys panicking. I mean, it's clearly over and they're relatively new. But hey, they did a good job. And once they're all dead, then you can still sit around and shoot enemy ships for a little bit if you feel like it. It can be fun. You get opposing ships a bit of fun, blasting your ship into oblivion. And then finally, when you finish, you can warp out. And that's the game. The score screen, that is essentially your score screen. This score screen doesn't really tell much because each one of the turrets is its own individual unit, as is a lot of the missiles and so on. So, I mean, I trained apparently 1,278 units there. I definitely did not train that many, and killed 369. That probably does show you the effectiveness of point defense. So I did have point defense for quite a while, which was taking out a lot of the enemy ships. So anyway, that was Warships. Thank you for watching. I'll probably be doing a few more videos, specifically on the actual what to build, as well as what each actual item does, and then probably look at some ships. And the main reason for that is, and again, I do not presume to be a master of warships, this is simply my opinion on a lot of this stuff. And again, it's for, I consider this probably for beginners to mid-game sort of users. I don't really consider this expert advice. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of this weapon does 10% more damage or 2 points more damage on this specific outcome. I'm not going to get into sort of math hammer conversations on this because I don't think it's useful. I think it's better to have a sort of core idea around how you build a ship, and then you go from there. Anyway, I love this game. Probably if you want to know, I love this game. I would give it 5 stars. If this was an actual independent game, I would happily buy it. It's that good. Starcraft 2 is free on Battle.net for the base Starcraft game, which you can get this map with. You don't need to buy anything. So this is a completely free game. I really rate it, as well as that Starcraft 2 itself is a 5 out of 5 game. And there are plenty of other custom maps out there. So if this doesn't wet your whistle, there's a few other good ones out there as well, which, look, I may do some videos on as well. Now I've restarted this channel a bit. Anywho, thanks for watching. You've been watching The World of Clink. I am Colonel Clink, and I'm signing out. Ciao.